So Crabada just put out the news that the idle game is getting reduced by 30% and has already happened. And also the CRA rewards for the idle game is completely gone. The battle game, the TUS is staying the same and the CRA is remaining the same. So you really want to start switching or thinking about switching over to the battle game because the rewards that you're going to earn from the battle game are so much more. Also, the time requirement for the battle game is way less. And if you want to end up putting your guys to mine, it takes about 6 hours. And if you want to end up looting, it takes about 12 hours. You have to check a little bit more constantly, but you can also be playing it on your phone, which is nice because then you don't have to be at your PC to check. But in this video, what I want to go over is I want to go over the best battle teams that I have found while I've been playing the game. So first battle team that I would say is probably the best that I think any person can run, and it just works really, really well. First, you want to get yourself a double bulk plus a prime. The reason why double bulk / prime works very well is because your team is super tanky. You're reliant on your backliner to do all the work for you, while your double tanks are just standing in the front line and absorbing a lot of damage. Also, you'll see that like if your opponent runs a double tank, you end up kind of losing to them a lot because it's very hard to get through both tanks. You have to kind of get lucky and get a bunch of crits off. So that's like the one thing that like is kind of like a counterbalance is if your opponent crits a lot into you, you can end up losing more often. But if they're not critting all the time, you're probably going to end up seeing a lot more wins. Also, make sure you know about the skills before you get them. You really want to have some of the highest damage skills if you can. So having Eth Blast or having Ava Beam as your skills for your crab will be really, really strong if you're picking up primes. Also, the Portal Pulse and the Soul Hammer are also really, really strong. So between these 4 skills is ones I would pick up. You want to make sure you never get yourself AoE skills unless you're getting an AoE skill for a certain ability that it gives you. Having crabs that have AoEs, just the amount of damage that they can put out is really, really weak and kind of harms your team overall. Next team is an organic, ruined, and a prime. The only reason or the only organic I would get is if it has the silent skill plus the immunity skill for itself, immunity eyes. The silent skill is Bulby, this one here, which throws 3 leaf shurikens that explode, hitting your enemy, dealing damage, and inflicting silence on all enemies for 2 turns. What silence does is it makes them so they can't use their pincer abilities. So it stops them from using their pincer abilities for 2 turns, which really can slow the damage amount that your tank is taking, and it also can make it live for a lot longer. So I really like having this, but you want to run yourself a ruined in the back so it can kind of absorb a lot of the damage, and then a prime or a craboid with it so it can really help finish off the rest of the game. The next team, and this is probably one of the most simple teams that you can run, is a bulk double craboid, bulk prime craboid. It's really up to you. You can switch and swap in between. Really just having a bulk in the front so it can tank up all the damage, and having a craboid and a prime as well to just really destroy your opponent and finish off. That's the team that I run quite a lot, and I win most of my games with it. The last team that I would like to mention is a gem team. Gems are also really good tanks, and if you can get a skill that buffs up your whole team with attack damage, I've actually lost quite a bit to gems. So if your opponent's running a gem double prime, it's a really hard team to beat because gems are super, super tanky, same like bulks, and they put out a little bit more damage, and they also can buff up your team. So trying to find yourself a gem that works very well for you would be a good thing. Also, I will have a link to the skills down below. So if you guys want this skills, you can see what it does. And then you can also have this one where it shows you the effects as well. For the effects, the ones that I like for certain classes, I like this one here where it reflects damage, 30% of the damage you take. I like this one where it increases defense. This is for primes. These are the 2 skills I would look for the eyes. And you can see here what the eye effects are. Just look for these eyes when you're looking for your crabs. For craboids, I really like the stun ability. Stun is one of my favorite. I think this is the only ability that I really like for craboids. So that's what I'd be looking for. Same thing for prime. Primes, the ability I look for is the stun. If you can't go for a stun, getting one that decreases your opponent's defense is also really, really strong because it makes it so they take a little bit more damage. For your gems, you're either going to want reflect, you're going to want increased defense. These are really good as well, or attack down for your opponent. For your organics, you're going to want this where it recovers your HP, or invincibility. Invincibility is one of my favorite skills that you can actually get here because it can stop all the damage you take for 1 turn. And it's saved me a lot of times because I've actually got it to go off when your opponent is using their ultimate skill. So having the invincibility here is literally, I think, one of the strongest skills that you can actually get. Also, having this one that causes freezing as well is really, really powerful. And you can kind of get these on the organics, which I think makes them very, very strong. You can also get the freeze skill on the ruins as well, which is another skill that I find to be absolutely insane. And it will freeze them for 1 turn. And I like the immunity ability on the Sunkens. The reason why is the Sunkens are very, very tanky, and they're also another good one that you can swap in for 1 year DPS. They give you a little less damage, but they also have the ability where they can go immune or they can prevent damage, which I think is just very strong to have. Now, I want to show you a few little things in game that you may not already know. In your inventory here, you can make these food. The food will end up restoring stats to your crabs, and you want to keep your crabs above a certain food level. So if they're leveled up like this, your stats get reduced for every time your food drops 10 value. So if it goes to 50, my stats will get reduced a little bit. If it goes to 40, my stats will get reduced again. So you really want to keep your food level relatively high, and I only ever let it fall 10 points at most for each of my crabs. On top of that as well, you can see here, my food can actually go above the level 10. So if you actually use food over, you can go over and it's totally fine. The way I like to use my shells, I like to use my shells on my main DPS, and I like to do it on each team. So I am running a bulk prime craboid, and then I'm running a bulk double craboid. Those are like my 2 main teams. And then I'm running an organic ruined and a craboid. That team I think struggles the most, but the single bulk teams I think are very, very strong. But usually if I see someone running a double bulk plus prime, I will never attack them. The reason being is this team just is very weak against them. So knowing what teams you're good against is also another good thing. So what I like to do is, before I ever do a loot, is usually I like to check my opponent's team. If you can find someone that's running something that has no tanks at all, that's always a good opportunity to attack into. So something like this is actually, I think, triple tank. So also another thing to note, if you look at this here, you may think that this one is a craboid, but actually it's a double tank. This guy's running a gem tank plus a bulk tank, and we never really want to attack into double tanks because they're one of the hardest teams, like I said, to beat. Finding one that has just a single tank is usually what we're trying to attack because, like I said, double tank is absolutely hard to run over. So we found a team that we want to attack. This one has a gem as one of their tanks, so we're going to go into battle now. And here, as you can see, this is their lineup. This guy is running Ava Beam, plus he's running high damage attacks as well. He got a critical boost up, so it's lucky for him. But the thing is, the reason why I don't like the crit up is because it doesn't guarantee you getting a crit. It just means that you have a higher chance of critting. It doesn't automatically mean you're going to crit. And here you can see how the stun is useful, stopping. It's going to stop him from attacking me. And we ended up killing his tank. And now you can see we're so far ahead. We just landed an ability on our opponent's other team. And now you're going to see how we're just going to be able to run them over because we're so far ahead. And we landed a lucky crit as well. We didn't even need the crit because both our crabs were pretty healthy. And we got an extra stun as well. So this is why the ice skills really, really matter, because you can see how much the ice skills actually did. Giving himself a bonus crit up, not giving himself a bonus attack up. Those are really, really weak skills because crit chance is RNG based, where if you get a bonus attack up, it's guaranteed to do the bonus damage from the attack. So always looking at your crabs to attack. Like this one also is another great team because they don't actually have a front tank. So if we can get into this one, this is another great team to attack. But you saw that one was already taken. But if you find a team that your opponent's running and they have no tanks in it, you're going to want to attack them because it's really, really nice. But like I said, before you ever attack a team, make sure you look at the background here because this one has the prime symbol, but it's actually the gem tank. So you may actually think you're running into a non-tank team, but you actually are running to a tank team because of the background symbol here. And then also remember about type advantage as well. You want to try to attack teams that you have type advantage on. So if I'm attacking into a bulk, I usually like using primes to try and break through the bulk because you're going to hit it for a lot harder than if you didn't have. If you guys found the video helpful, please leave it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.